So I think this is backwards. Wait a minute. There's a Hi, welcome to FiberLoveDiary. I'm Trish if we haven't met, and if we have met, welcome back. And welcome back. There, you got two. So it is Christmas Eve. John and I went on kind of a traditional little last minute trip to the store this morning to get like some last few things we need for, you know, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day meals. Just a few things. We're back. I thought I would film a Q&A. That's how we started out. That's how we're gonna end. And I had 5 pages of questions saved up, and I was like, a lot of these are really good questions. So I thought, perfect time. We'll go ahead and do a Q&A and catch up on all, these are like Vlogmas questions. There's a few from videos that came before, but mostly not. Let's go. And I am going to have shorter answers because 5 pages is the biggest set of questions I've ever done, I think. But a lot of these won't take long to answer. And I'm gonna spin. I started spinning yesterday on the live some sock yarn. It is something that I dyed myself like a year and a half ago, or maybe even 2 years ago. It is Stroll Roving from Knit Picks. There's an affiliate link to Knit Picks in the description box if you want to go ahead and order your own. So I do really like it. There's questions about sock yarns in here. So let's go. Let's just get started and jump into it, shall we? Okay. Caitlin Rader commented and said, I have heard that Etsy can be a huge hassle, so I'm glad to hear that you're moving. I can't wait to see what your new shop looks like. When will you be opening the new one officially? So the new one is open. 75 to 80% of my items are in it, but I have a bunch of new stuff that's gonna go in right after Christmas, during the week after Christmas. The shop will not be closing while I'm on a break, a video break. So that will still be open. So new stuff will be showing up during that week, a bunch of new stuff. And thank you. You know, I feel a little bad because Etsy's so popular and it's a little scary because they kind of make you feel like you can't make it without them. I mean, it sounds like an abusive boyfriend, like you're nothing without me, but they kind of do make you feel like, you know, you could never make a go of it without them. And so it's a little scary, but I think it is time, and you guys are already ordering, which I so appreciate. I appreciate it more than you can possibly imagine. So thank you so much, and on to the next adventure, you know? That's me, next adventure. Terry Anderson posted, dang, that tea cozy is so cute. Where did you get the pattern? Your yarn is absolutely perfect. It actually looks like it has little ornaments on it. I love it. So I got the pattern from Ravelry, and I think it's called the Million Bells Tea Cozy pattern. I will try to remember to link it below, but you guys know how good I am at remembering that kind of stuff. But I will do my best. And thank you. It was supposed to look like, you know, those trees that have all different colored lights on it, and that sari silk is perfect against dark colors to look like lights against anything, like a dark sky or whatever. Allie Green asked, I love how the tea cozy turned out. How perfect was that tweed yarn for a Christmas tree effect? I am really, really happy with how it turned out. I've been thinking about it since before I moved my my studio, because I used to be able to see that green in the old studio, like from where I was sitting, and I thought about it like all the time because it just reminded me of Christmas trees. So thank you. Lorraine W said, I have a business type question for you. Do you use special labels and or ink to print out your mailing labels? I've found when I print mailing labels on my printer, if I don't completely cover them with tape, they will smear if they get wet. I'm so curious to know what everyone else does. Thanks, Trish. So I started out doing that, printing them on my inkjet printer, and after my shop started to do a little bit better, I was trying to just like invest kind of a little at a time in improving things, and improving my shipping process was something that I did want to invest in. And so eventually I got a label printer, a thermal label printer. They're just little. I mean, you saw it in the video probably. And you never need to put ink in it. and they won't smear. I do buy the labels in packs of like 500 from Amazon, and that's what I use. For me, it just works a lot better. I have found some of the labels are stickier than others, so now I stick with the same brand. I will try and look and see what the brand is. I can't remember off the top of my head because I've tried more than one. And I'm trying now to stick with the one that's like really, really sticky, because my post office did like hook underneath one and rip it completely off the package and sent me the package back. That package went to a Kathy that watches. If you're watching, you know what happened. I love my printer. It works so slick. It's very simple, which is nice. The only thing that isn't as great is that you must plug into the printer to print your labels, because they don't make them wireless. But, well, maybe they make them wireless, but I think in some ways that's better. It's just like one less thing to go wrong, you know what I mean? So the more manual, the better. So I just hook up to it, print my labels once a day, and you can't smudge them or smear them, so it's really nice. Kim Line asked, is there a reason to braid instead of crochet chain the fiber? I bought it both ways, and I had never really considered it until watching you braid it. Maybe there is a practical reason. Okay, so in my opinion, it's more practical to crochet chain it, but when I do that, I only do that with gradient fibers, because then you can actually see the gradient when it's twirled around. But when I do that, mine don't come out straight. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if that is what everybody's does. I'm not really sure, but I think to my eyeballs, it looks prettier in photographs when it's braided instead of crochet chained, and also my braids come out looking better than my crochet chain. If I was being practical and not being artisty, I would just crochet chain it. Carrie asked, these sock blanks give me heart eyes. So glad you're building your own website. How are you liking Shopify so far? I'm going to miss your daily updates, but I'm glad you'll have a break, and there's always the Facebook group. That's right. And also, I started a TikTok, which I haven't had time in December to spend much time on, because, you know, I've been doing this, but I do plan to do like a little bit more daily update stuff there. So if you want to follow it, I guess I'll link to that below about the Shopify. So I have found it to be very easy. It's just as easy to use as Etsy. I mean, people have had stuff to say already, but people always have stuff to say. That's something that I've learned over time, and I want to keep it super, super simple looking, because I feel like there is such a thing as gilding the lily when you're, you know, selling something that you sort of consider art. The simpler, it's like the reason why art galleries are all white. You don't want to distract anything from what you're putting in your shop. While I'm working on it, it'll be evolving a little, but it's gonna stay super simple. I don't want it to be all complicated and busy looking, and I don't care for that. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm so glad you enjoyed the daily updates. It's really been pretty fun. That's why I want to continue to do it on TikTok. I think time-wise, that will be a little simpler in that format, you know what I mean? And if you guys don't follow it, don't worry about it. As soon as I hit enough views, I'll share it on Instagram as well. So, you know, most of you follow one or the other or something somewhere else. I think probably doing Vlogmas will change how I do stuff going forward, as far as how frequently and how like daily project updatey kind of thing I do. So Diane Evans asked, what is the weight of a braid? My braids are generally, what I call it is a fat 4. So I do a 4 ounce or more. Sometimes they're 4.2, sometimes they're 4.3 even. Occasionally I do a woolly mammoth, which is a great big braid, but those usually sell really fast. So, and those will be like 7 to 8 ounces, somewhere in there generally, but a woolly mammoth could be anything bigger than 7 ounces. Spin Crochet Repeat asked this question twice and I just didn't get to it. It's, hey, so I had commented on the dyeing video, but I know you've had technical problems, so yeah, I lost a whole day's worth of video. how do you keep the colors from blending and getting muddy at the bottom? So that was on the dyeing video. Some of this is going to be covered in a dyeing class that's coming up in February, but to keep it short and sweet, really what it has to do with is what temperature things are, how much water is in when you add the dye, and then also how you pick your colors. You can control to a degree how much blending or how much mud you get, because blending doesn't always mean mud, but we're going to talk about that in the dyeing class that's coming up in February. There will be like a short color theory discussion in the beginning when we talk about picking colors, and then I think possibly I might do a straight color theory class after that, because I do have my own methods of making decisions on what I'm going to use together and then what order I'm going to use them, and we'll talk about it all throughout that. I think I didn't realize how much color theory I actually use, if that makes sense, because I learned it so young. I took a drawing class when I was like 8 with a neighbor who is still painting professionally. She lived a few blocks away. My mom signed me up. I took a 3-week drawing class with her. She taught us some color theory, and then I did it 2 or 3 years in a row. It was just like in her basement with a bunch of kids, and it was so awesome for me. And I think I didn't really realize how much that became in part of my intuition when it comes to color until very recently. So I think we will have a color theory discussion. We'll have a color wheel talk, how I pick them, how I decide what order they're going to go in, all those things and why. And hopefully it will help inform some of you guys on the way that you do your own, because I don't really want to teach anyone like this is what you should do. But if I teach the thought process behind it or talk about the thought process behind it, you can develop your own reasons and methods and all those things. Gosh, I think this was Jamie Swan. Yep, Jamie Swan asked, what's everyone's favorite method to count the yardage of your yarn? I do 2 different things. And you guys have actually seen me do 2 different things probably if you've been watching for a while. Sometimes I use a niddy noddy, but then other times I will just set my bobbin up on a Lazy Kate, and then I'll use my Swift. My Swift will do multiple different size hanks or circles or whatever you want to call it, or loops. And so I set it up for a 2-yard loop, and then I do it that way. Now I know there's some stretch and some bounce back. I don't factor that in when I count. I count and then I just factor it in when I'm picking it for a project, or if I'm weighing it or planning it or whatever. So, or like I'm spinning for a particular project, if I know it's gonna bounce back 10 to 20%, I'll just be 100% sure I have 20% more yards when it's stretched, if that makes sense, so that when it bounces back it'll be the same. And I don't run out of yarn, so I do feel like my method works. With the Christmas tree thing, I was running out of yarn, but I never even looked to see how much I needed, so it's not really the same. It's more of that was just like winging it, fly by the seat of my pants, dumb decisions. So that's how I do it. If you feel like you want to answer any of these and how you do things, feel free to answer them in the comments. Robin Becker asked, great towels about the first Christmas towels. What loom are you weaving your towels on? So that is a 22-inch Harrisville Designs. It's 4 shafts. It is 6 treadles, and her name is Dolly. I believe Rhonda came up with Dolly. It was either Rhonda or Dawn, because she is a hardworking lady. Caitlin Rader asked, okay, when you dye, do you put all your pans on a heat source at once? If so, what all heat sources do you use? I do not. I only use my stove. We have a gas stove, except occasionally I have like a hors d'oeuvre crock pot that I do dye stuff in, but you guys haven't seen me do that in forever. I haven't gotten it out in a while. So I can't, unless I do 3 pans or less, I cannot put them all in the heat source at the same time. But as soon as I get a pan done, I put it on my heat source and then I work on the next pan. And then I just move them through. There are a lot of people who buy those little induction burners. You can get them at like restaurant supply stores. You plug them in. Some of them have 2 burners and that's perfect for one of those big pans. If I had a dye studio someday, I would go ahead and buy a bunch of those and just line them up and then do them all at once. But no, I don't. I just don't have the space for it. That kind of studio space is probably not in my future unless what Carrie put out into the universe actually happens over the next couple of years. She said over yesterday that someday I would have 1 million subscribers. At that point, I could probably figure out how to make it work, but I don't think that it's probably not in my future. Laughing Lioness said, so I'm home binge watching Vlogmas and I watched this whole video and never discussed what is it that never discovered. What is it that you want for Christmas, Trish? What does your sweatshirt say under that precious you illustration? So it says, all I want for Christmas, and underneath it says, is use. E-W-E-S. John came up with that. We were out for breakfast a couple of weeks or months ago. I guess probably like 2 months ago. We were talking about Christmas shirts and I knew I wanted to do fleece on earth. And we were just kind of throwing out ideas and he threw that out and I'm like, you're a daggone genius. So that's how that one got on there. Those will come back next year, like at the beginning of November in my shop. So if you wanted one and you didn't get one, they'll be available again. They were running out of the base shirts for different sizes and different colors and it was starting to get late for shipping, and so I just took them off because I didn't want people to be disappointed, but they'll be back. Plus there will be a couple new ones. I had new design ideas. Some of the designs are even done, but there will be some new ones for next Christmas. Janet Pinkelman asked, how do you use the sock blanks? So the sock blanks are 2 strands knitted together. So the way that I like to do it, but I've heard that people knit straight directly off of them, is I like to make 2 separate balls of them because when you knit them up, they will be identical socks. And I did finish John's socks and they are so identical. It makes me happy. I don't usually try to do 2 identical socks, but when I do, I want them to be perfect, and they are so awesome. Candy said, it's good you got around to cutting yourself some slack. Thank you, Candy. I appreciate that. I probably wouldn't have made it through Vlogmas if I hadn't been willing to cut myself a little slack, because I think I would have burnt out and overwhelmed. Her question is that Snuggle Time? That's a colorway that Candy is very in love with. Carrie snapped it before she got it last time. So yes, Candy, I did 4 braids of Snuggle Time. So they will be in the shop over the next few days. So Trina Northam said, it's so refreshing to hear people being real about just being human. I'm so glad. You know, it's always very scary to come onto social media and say like, I'm struggling today, but I feel like so many of us, and it isn't just women and it isn't just moms, during the holiday season, the expectations are so much and so high, and it's so hard to dial back without feeling like you're disappointing people. It's something that I have kind of wanted to do for a while. I just feel a lot of pressure not to do that. And I know I'm not the only one. I know other people have this moment where they're just like, I feel terrible. This is awful. But it doesn't mean you don't love your family. It doesn't mean you don't even love Christmas or the holiday season or, you know, whatever. It just means like, I don't know. I really do believe that we should normalize on social media, especially, being able to say like, I'm not perfect. There's things that aren't gonna get done this Christmas, but it's okay because, you know, I did my best and I did great. Because instead, I just still see so many people still on social media spending all their time trying to portray like perfect Christmas, perfect family, perfect image, perfect food, perfect decorations, perfect everything. And I don't believe that's how most of us live. I actually think, you know, like, I didn't frost all the Santa cookies yet. I did just enough for the kids to each take a couple home, and I'm gonna do the rest later. And we should all be able to say, and cut each other some slack and say to each other, like, you don't have to be perfect to be great. But it doesn't seem to me to be what we are doing. It's sad. It's definitely a recurring theme in my life and something that I struggle with, like being hard on myself when I'm not perfect. So Trina had a question. I am very new to spinning and dyeing especially. At the start you said you had wool soaking overnight. Was it soaking in something specific or just water? I think I usually say this, I should say, but I leave it soaking at least a few hours, but I often set it up overnight and then dye things in the morning. I use citric acid in my dye. I use acid dyes, so they need acid to fix to the yarn or bond to the yarn. So I generally use citric acid just because vinegar is smelly, but you can use white vinegar. And like a tablespoon, it's supposed to be a tablespoon per pound of wool. I have had trouble getting some dyes to bond at that concentration, so I usually do like 1.5 times what they tell you, because a little bit more of that citric acid is not going to damage your fibers unless you leave it soaking for like days and days and days. But it will help certain colors bond better to have that dye concentration a little higher. So that is what it's soaking in. Those are acid dyes though, and if you use other types of dyes or natural dyes, you need different types of mordant. So you really need to just look up what the proper type of mordant is for whatever you're using to dye. Sue BT asked, do you ever get all the projects done that you wanted to, or do you run out of time? I absolutely run out of time. The Christmas towels that I'm working on right now, I put a picture of them on Instagram yesterday. I really did want to have them completely done and photographed and listed for sale by the 20th, and like it's the 24th. Today is the 24th, and there is only 25% of a towel done. My warp just wasn't as perfect as I wanted the tension to be, and I ended up fixing it, rewinding it. And so it's perfect now, and I'm gonna be glad, I know I'm gonna be glad I took the time to do that, but everything else just got in the way. I just got really busy and I did not get them done. So yes, that happens to me all the time, but I also don't sweat because I feel like I got a lot done this Christmas season. Like I'm kind of proud of how productive I actually was. And so, I mean, John has accused me before of setting up a schedule that I could not possibly ever manage to finish, and then being hard on myself when I don't finish it. So I think I have improved that to a degree. And now if I don't get it all done, I mean, I have time, like everything's okay. Libalula Washington said, thanks. I love your wool winder on the table. What make is it, please? It is from Hornshaw Woodworks. They are kind of local to me. They live in Holland, Michigan, which is where we used to live, and they're like an hour from us now about. I'll put a link to their Etsy shop below, so if you decide to buy one from them, just let them know where you saw it. And I mean, they don't work with me or anything. It's nothing like that, but I do know them. They're very, very nice people. It's a really nice Swift. I've had it for probably about 14 or 15 years, and John painted it with that purple sparkle automotive paint for me. He actually bought it unfinished from them, and then he painted it for me, and I just love it because no one else has that. It's special. Venus said that tree yarn looks amazing, would look great as a sweater too. Yeah, my plumbing skills stink. I do have a question, hang on. I noticed you start your ply at the closer end of the bobbin. When I ply, I start the yarn at the far side of the bobbin. Is it better to start at the closer end, or does it make no difference? I do not think it makes a difference at all. It shouldn't make a difference. Tracy Barger said, are those new glasses? Super cute. So yes, they are new glasses, Tracy. I don't know if you heard, but I've been to the eye doctor recently. I got new glasses and I ordered new contacts, which I have not had time to pick up yet. So these are my new glasses. Thank you. I love them. I am really liking them. Enough said about my glasses. Lana commented and said, I absolutely love the color of your sample you made for your Christmas tree. Did you dye that? I can't remember. did not dye the green. I bought that from a dyer, an indie dyer. Her name is Molly, but the business name is called Woolen Hearth. I think she's only currently selling at my local yarn shop, but you can buy stuff from her there. So I'll put a link to the yarn shop website. You may have to call them. They also carry my stuff, so you may have to call them to find out what they have in stock. I'm not sure if it's up on their website or not. Sarah, the patient farmer, asked, do you ever spin directly from locks? I'm attempting it with zero luck. I think it might be time to take a class. I am not a big art yarn person, but if you go back to, I'm not sure when it is, there is a video where I did 3 samples with little to no prep or little to no tools, and one of them was like spinning from a cloud. So yes, I have done it. You know, I don't mind textured yarn, but it isn't what I generally like, really textured yarn. It isn't what I generally like to knit with, or I mean, if anything, I'd rather weave with it. So yeah, so I have, I can't say that I'm magically great at it, but I do think it takes practice too. So it could be just that you just need more practice. So I don't know, keep going, don't stop. Jamie Swan, this wasn't really a question, but she said, also, can I add off topic that indirect warping totally confuses and intimidates me? So I can understand. I don't know if you have rigid heddle loom. I'm guessing yes, because if you are used to direct warping, that is way more common on a rigid heddle loom. I don't indirect warp my rigid heddle loom at all. The only reason why I do it on my floor loom, because honestly I'd rather direct warp it, is that it is not as easy to move the loom around to thread the heddles while you're while you're warping the way that you do with a rigid heddle. Like, that is just so portable to get it in the right position to thread the heddle and everything. So it's just a lot harder to direct warp, but there are people who do it. Lena Johnson was commenting on a video I did like a year and a half ago, where I did some completely dirty raw to finished yarn fleece, and she said, what brand Carter are you using? So it's a Strouch Finest. My understanding is that the Strouch family sold their business, and I could have some of this wrong because I'm getting it like secondhand from Facebook. So what I saw was that the Strouch family sold their Carter business. They had tools and Carters, and that the gentleman who bought the business died unexpectedly. And so currently my understanding is that they're out of business. Will it ever be back in business? I do not know. I will never get rid of that Carter. I believe it's the best Carter I've had in my hands for processing raw fleece at this point, up to this point in time. So that's what it is. It's a Strouch Finest. You might still be able to find a used one because they haven't been out of business that long. Trina Northam said, what a beautiful place where you live. How lucky are you? So that was when I took the dogs for the walk. We've walked a few times since then because we've had decent enough weather. That used to be a fish hatchery that is literally like so close to my house. And you can walk straight out the front door, walk there, get back in the trails. It's legal for us to have the dogs off leash. I know there were a few people who were a little freaked out about us doing that. Do not be freaked out by it. We have worked really hard with Gus. Gus has a very strong instinct when it comes to his nose. So if he smells something, everything else disappears. He can't hear us. He can't, we're gone. So we've had to work really hard with him to help snap his attention back. He used to wear one of those collars that vibrates and makes noise just to snap his attention out of it, but he does not need it anymore. But we had to work with it for a long time. And Luther has always been super easy. He never gets far away. I mean, he never runs. He watches to see where I am, and if I get to a certain distance, he will just come running. I literally never even call his name because he's always close. So, but I keep crazy eyes on them because I am scared. And if we do see someone else coming like in the trails, towards us or hear them, I will leash them really quickly, just because we don't know about other people's dogs and all that kind of stuff. So don't worry, I am so careful. But thank you. Yes, we are so lucky to have that park nearby. There's also another one like north of us, but we don't go there as often. Linda Perrone asked, Trish, what yarn do you use for your towels? They look so soft and drapey. So I usually get my yarn, it's Maysville 8-2 cotton. I usually get it from Great Northern Weaving in Kalamazoo, Michigan. They are struggling right now to get the colors that they want. And I did actually like speak to them on the phone about the rainbow towels, because I wanted to put a kit together, and right now they haven't been able to get what they would need to put the kit together. So that's why you still haven't heard anything about it. It's a long story. And you know, a lot of people are having supply chain issues right now. But if you decide to, I'll link their website. If you decide to go to their website and buy some yarn, please do let them know where you saw them. Love that stuff. And I've tried Maurice Brassard 8-2 cotton. I don't like it as much. It sheds a lot more and the yarns get like stuck to each other. So I don't like it as much. It's not bad, but it's not as good for me. Roxanne Richardson said, I wonder if something like Drit's wash away wonder tape would help make the double fold hem easier to do. So I had this thing that I wanted to try, which is like, I don't want to say because I think I'm gonna still try it, but I also think this idea could be a winner for me. So I think when I do my next set after this, the rainbow set, we're gonna try 2 different things, and I'm gonna go ahead and try that, and then I'm also gonna try the other thing that I wanted to do. I don't want to say too much because, you know, I'd have to go deep into it and nobody really cares right now, but when we do it, I'll explain it and go into it. We're gonna try that because I think it could be a really good idea. Small Fossy said, the cards are so beautiful. What are you using to make the ornament imprint? Is it glue on the stamp? Kind of. They call it embossing ink, but it's really like kind of like a gluey gel that you stamp into and then stick the embossing powder to it. You just sprinkle it over and it sticks to it. Then when you heat it, it melts into that like raised stuff. Caitlin Rader said, oh my goodness, I so want to get Christmas towels now. Are you selling these or making all of those for yourself? So I did sell them. They did not even make it to Etsy before they were all gone. Thank you, Caitlin. That pattern, there will be more of that pattern because I love weaving that pattern. Gosh, I missed who asked this question somehow. So is the warping mill an alternative to the warping bar? It is not, in my opinion. So the warping mill is what I am using for indirect warps that are really, really long. But if you're going to weave something, and especially on a rigid head of loom, and you're gonna direct warp, I would still use my warping bar. I still do use my warping bar. I love that thing. For direct warping, it is amazing. But that warp was 10 yards long, and I don't have any place that I could direct warp 10 yards except for outside. And also, I still think 10 yards is really cumbersome, and I don't know if I would try it. Jamie Swan asked, how do you do your nails? Just regular polish? They always look so pretty. Oh gosh, thank you so much. You can't see them up close. I use gel polish. It's actually resin that you cure in one of those UV lights, and I get it from Amazon. It's called Beetle's gel polish. So I'll link like the beginner kit in case you want to do it. I am shocked at how many of you guys have bought that kit, and I hear stuff sometimes like, oh, I just love it. And I have friends in person who have bought it, but I know you said they look pretty. If you looked up close, like I'm not that great at it. It's fun, right? Peace, Love, Enrico asked, can I just super glue instead of hem? I don't know if it's my confidence, my hunching, or what. I just hate hem stitching and or tying fringe ends. I think this was about towels. I do not hem stitch them. You can, but I don't do it. Can you super glue? I would not super glue, no. But I do not hem stitch. I just zigzag, cut, and then hem and wash. That's my method. It is not everybody's method. There is more than one right way to do it. And if you have a different way, like I would just encourage you to try a few different ways so you can see what way really works great for you. But I would not super glue it. No, I'm sorry. Steph asked, oh my gosh, how many towels? How long was that warp? It was 10 yards. I got 13 towels out of it. I'm pretty sure it was either 13 and then a shorty or 12 and a shorty. Dion said, wow, 30 feet. And lastly, what floor loom do you have and how wide is it? So it's 22 inches. I do not weave the whole width. I weaved like just around 20 inches generally for the width on my towels. And it is a Harrisville. I already answered that. Harrisville 22 inch. Vivian said, beautiful. Have you ever thought about using the Fibonacci sequence for designing your colors? It looks like it could give more inspiration. I haven't done it yet. I haven't gotten that far in my weaving course. I'm still on practice warp. I broke a warp thread and don't want to fix it. Once you do fix it, you're going to be like, oh shoot, that wasn't even that hard. You should just fix it, honestly. Sometime I should probably do a little video on how I fix those, huh? I have thought about it. You know, for me, and I know this probably annoys some people, I generally appreciate the symmetry in certain things, and fabric is one of them. So I have thought about the Fibonacci sequence, and I guess I could use it and then like mirror it across the middle, and then I would still get my symmetry. But that's the reason why I haven't done it yet. I had never considered mirroring it from the center. I think that probably will have to happen now that I'm thinking about this. Thanks, Vivian. Good idea. Deborah Johnson, this was about the towels too. She said, very pretty. What width do you make them? I weave just about 20 inches in width, and I like them 28 inches long under tension because I know someone will ask if I don't say. Oh, Kim said, I'm getting a warping mill for Christmas. I don't love using the warping board and it's held me back from using my floor loom. I do like my warping mill, but I still don't like winding a warp. I mean, I just don't enjoy it. I wish I did, and I know some people do, but whatever. It is what it is, right? Patient Farmer said, what a fun experiment. Did I hear you correctly? There's a special way to spin for socks. I think it's more like people have their own preferences. But for me, I do like my singles a little bit underspun and then plied really, really tightly for socks. And I thought I was weird for liking that. I've said this before, and then I was watching Abby Frankmont did a video, and she was talking about how she likes it that way, and I don't remember if that was specifically for socks or if she was just saying she likes her yarns that way, but I was like, yes, because I feel like she's like a real expert, and if she says it's okay and good, then there's a reason behind it. I know I have my own reasons, don't get me wrong, but it just felt like validation, like, yay, okay, you know, crazy, I'm crazy. Beth, the Cranky Witch, said, have you thought about a used caravan? Blah. Can I say it? Have you thought about a used caravan for a studio? Doesn't need to be roadworthy, so it could be quite inexpensive. So I know someone who did this. Hi, Anne. Have I thought about it? Not really for me, because we have 2 outbuildings on our property already. We have like a shed for equipment, you know, like lawnmower and that kind of stuff. And then also John has an outbuilding that he uses for like his man cave / his hobbies and stuff. So I can't see adding anything here. I don't like the idea of adding anything else to our stuff to take care of, all of that kind of thing. But I think it's probably a great and wonderful and genius idea for other people. You know what I mean? I think my situation is just a little unique. If we were ever gonna do that, what I would wanna do is take John's building down and put up a new building that is bigger. I mean, we call it the barn. It's not like a house or anything. It's like an outbuilding. Oh, and then Beth commented again and said, one of these days I'm gonna get out of bed at 4 a.m. so I can join you live maybe. Probably not. The replay is really enjoyable. Thank you. I love seeing your completed socks on Insta. Totally gorgeous. When you do another Q&A, could you provide some details on your sock yarn? What diameter reps per inch your singles are? What angle is your ply? So I don't check the angle of my ply, but as I said, I tend to underspin my singles a wee bit and then like ply them really tightly. But typically for sock yarn, if it's a 3-ply, I will shoot for 45 wraps per inch, and that usually leaves my 3-ply yarn like somewhere around 21 to 23 wraps per inch. So that's kind of my typical, I don't know, targets for sock yarns. Donna C said, I enjoyed watching the sun come up over your shoulder. I know about that eye thing. I know you do. She said, did the flat eye picture look like mountains? Maybe it was two different glaucoma testing machines measuring and one was a little off. The flat eye picture, I don't know what you mean. I didn't notice that it looked like mountains. He really showed me what it looked like. To me, it looks more like tree roots. But it was the same glaucoma machine and the pressure was quite a bit different for the two readings. So I feel like that's really weird, but I also am not reading too much into it. I don't feel too stressed about it. A lot of people have messaged me since we talked about it the first time and said like, oh yeah, I get high readings. They have me on the watch list, but everything's been fine for, you know, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So I feel like it's not worth being scared of anymore. It was scary at first, but I don't feel scared anymore. And there's stuff they can do to treat me, so if I have it. Marie said, hey, how about getting a pre-built shed and just add power and water? I think I already answered that. I just feel guilty. We really don't want another building to take care of, to be honest. Amber said, what brand of DPNs do you use for your socks? Luther's sweater is so handsome on him, isn't it? So I will use anything for DPNs. I'm not picky at all. I like metal. The Chow Goos are my favorite metal, but I also have some Knit Picks ones that are great, the nickel ones. And then, I do really like those. And then sometimes I use wooden ones. I like the Likia, which, I mean, a lot of people say likey. Maybe I've got it wrong, but we heard from a lady that, from the dealer or whatever, that was supposed to be pronounced Likia. I have a bunch of really, really inexpensive ones from Amazon. I buy like a whole set of sizes. They're not like the most beautiful, perfect thing in the world, but I tend to lose them or break them, even if they're the expensive ones. So I just have tons of them. And also I might have a couple pairs of socks going at once, like maybe 3 pairs, sometimes even more. So I need multiple sets, but I like all those kinds. Becky Shook said, have you demonstrated how to wind and use turkey hands? So I have, and I will put a link to that video in the description box. It's gonna be a lot of links in the description box. Vivian said, that bat is so pretty. This was the Christmas bat, I think. Have you thought about selling bats more regularly? You have a great eye for color. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. The truth is, I don't really think about selling anything regularly. Basically, what I do is do the things that I feel inspired for at the moment, and then I sell them if I can. I never approach, and I'm not even sure how to approach, like, myself as a production style business. Like, I just need to dye 18 pounds a month or crank out 10 or 20 bats a month, because I don't know how to explain it, but I never intended to do that when I started this channel. When I started, I was like, I'm just gonna document what I'm doing. And then you guys started asking about buying certain things, and a lot of times in my videos I'm like, yeah, sure, you can buy whatever. Even when I dye and crank out like a dozen braids or a bunch of yarn or whatever, I still only do it because I feel inspired to try a certain thing. There are a few times where somebody, like with the Phoenix and with Snuggle Time, people have said, I love that so much, can you please do it again so I can buy some? And honestly, I only do it if I feel like, yes, I really want to do that again. It sounds bad, but I really want my own focus to stay on being creative and making art, or what I consider to be art, and not on producing, if that makes sense. So bats will come back. But the sad fact of that is you really have to pounce on them or they're gone. Sorry, I know that sounds so jerky of me, but I don't think I can do it the other way. Last question. Lee Olson asked, how do you decide to do long draw or short draw? So that is going to be a question that will be answered in a much bigger way in another class that is coming for, I think, summer. About worsted versus woolen in prep and in spinning and the combinations and all those kinds of things. That's such a big topic. But generally, I like long draw with a shorter fiber and with something that has a woolen prep. So carded, like a roving or a bat that's been stripped into roving, generally. But I do sometimes combine the two things. So, and for short draw or a worsted draw, it depends on what I'm going to use the yarn for. Like if I'm going to do it for a sock yarn and I want it to be a little bit sturdier, I'll do a short draw, forward draw. If I want my yarn to be really smooth, I'll do a short forward draw. And if it's a long fiber, I'll generally do a worsted drafting style, just because it's hard to do long draw on a really long fiber. Those are sort of the short answer of how I make that decision. I hope that helps. Okay, so we're gonna draw for the winners of the sock blanks. I promised this and then I almost forgot. The first one we're gonna do is the like orchid one. This is the one that says, thanks, I love you, bye. The second one I'm gonna draw for is the orange and I guess magenta-y one. There were 3 videos, I believe. Hang on here. Yeah, because yes, there was 3. There was one on the 21st, the 22nd, and the 23rd. But first I have to pick a video. So we're gonna use the random pickers just like I do when I do the paradise. And I'm gonna do completely separate drawing for each. So we're gonna pick a different video and everything. So it's just 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so the first one is 2. That is the video on this one, the 22nd. So let me get a link to random comment picker. You guys know how this works. Okay, so the winner of the first one is Lisa. I'm so glad you won. So glad. So Lisa wins the first one that's like orchid and kind of a grayish purple. And then we're gonna start over. Okay. So for the second one, the orange and like magenta or orange and orchid, whatever, it's the first video. So that one is this one on the 21st. Then we'll go back to random comment picker. And LaDonna won the other one. All you have to do to claim your sock blanks is email me at FiberLoveDiary@gmail.com. The email is always in the description and I will mail them to you. And I just want to tell you guys that 2021 has been an amazing year and it's really due to you guys. I'm so grateful for your support. I'm so thankful. And Abir sent me an ironing board cover. So thank you so much, Abir. I hope you guys have a great end of the year and I will see you in 2022. John has something he wants to say too.
Hey everybody. I just wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas and thank you all for supporting this lovely lady.
Dork. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You're cute. Thanks. I love you. Bye.